Hey, beautiful people. This is WomanWizer with Buntu. Welcome. This is the podcast where we take all life's aspects and we put them on the table. Yes, this is where I want to share a bit about my life, and I hope that that will spark a conversation between you and I because you know that you guys are my co-hosts. Yes, Babunjahani Afa, a woman wiser. So, welcome, Bitinana. Today, well, on today's menu, we're talking about something that I'm very new to and something that I'm very excited about. You know, it's a journey that I'm just diving into. We're going to be talking about marriage. So, like I said, I am new to the game. You know, I haven't been married long, but it's been a very fun and interesting experience. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about what it is being a wife. I want to talk about the many intricacies that come with marriage, the dynamics, the finances, begezelaring, what that looks like to you and me. So I hope you guys can stay tuned and jump in on the conversation because you know that's what I love to see and hear. Your guys' POVs, you know, your opinions and your advice when it comes to things like this. So, like I said, what is a wife? That is a big question that used to ring around in my head, you know, around proposal time. Because, yes, I'm busy saying, yes, I do. I'll be your wife. But what is that? Do you know Nilondo? You know? So I kind of had to define it for myself. So I grew up with a single mother, you know, so I didn't necessarily get to see the day to day representation of what a wife is. And yes, I had aunts who were married, yeah, but the proximity, you know, they weren't really close to me in physically, so I didn't get to see what a wife looked like, what she did every single day. But we all had a sort of a clue, even from growing up, you know, playing house, knowing what the gender roles are. And my biggest teacher when it came to this aspect was television. You know, watching the sitcoms every day as a family, or my wife and kids. I mean, the title says it all. My wife and kids. What else? One on one. Okay, no, that was a single dad. But I mean, parenting was also a big aspect there, as well as Modern Family. You know, the more we watch television throughout the years, we got to see this title of wife and mother sort of evolve, you know. And now we're in the age of social media. And yes, we're still getting to see the traditional wife because those sitcoms, I think they put forth three very powerful things that a wife was or did, right? She always made sure that there was food on the table, no matter what. And she always made sure that everyone's everything was sorted out from the kids' homework to the ins and outs of what the husband slash dad had to do at work. She just knew everyone's lives, you know. And basically, she was the executive of the household or the superhero of the house, you know. And yes, we get to see that still in social media nowadays. We got your trophy slash traditional wife, thanks to Onara Smith, who are cooking things from scratch. But we are also getting to see a more different type, you know, a more modern day wife. And this was something that was really interesting to me because I then started to ask myself, okay, where do I fit in? Based on how I was raised, based on the things that I want, the things that I am, where do I fit in this mold of wife, right? So, upon asking myself this question, I then looked at different aspects, right? What my partner also thought a wife was. Because here he is proposing to me. He is asking me to be his wife, but what does that look like? So, these are conversations we had when we were still dating. So, by the time that part rolled around, we kind of had an idea and we kind of liked what each person thought a wife was, and vice versa, husband as well. You know, you got to make sure that you're liking the kind of husband your man's gonna be. But yeah, so there we were discussing this, and what came to light was that we want each other to feel seen. We want the other person to feel safe enough to be themselves. And I think I've been so blessed with a partner who understands the intricacies of what it means to be a woman in this day and age, you know, what it means to fulfill all those different roles to the best of your ability. Because we're not living in even the early 2000s, let alone the 50s. You know, we are women that are headhunted. We are out there creating businesses, breaking so many different molds when it comes to the workspace and just what it means to be a woman in general. So obviously it's going to then forge the question of what does it mean to be a wife in this day and age. So essentially we've deduced, or I've deduced, because I actually have to be happy with what I consider a wife to be. It is my role at the end of the day, and it's someone who's there to support my partner. It's someone who's there to make sure that he feels safe enough to be himself. It is quite difficult going out there being a man every day. So knowing that he's got a home to come to and a place where he can just be vulnerable and let go, let his walls down. That was something that was very, very important for the both of us. Also, being someone who can pursue their dreams freely, not feeling bad about having to maybe take a break if we're trying to start a family, if it means that I need to pursue this little gig that I have going on for the time being, not feeling shameful about that, just being able to forge through in life successfully. And I'm so happy that those are things that we agreed to do and we agreed to be for one another. I'll give you an example. When I was shooting Miss Education, right? The hours were insane, guys. I think I was working 14-hour days. So I'd come home at around 7, 7:30 at night. I'm exhausted. So all I have is a few hours to have supper, enjoy some quality time with my partner, and then get as much rest as possible because God fall, I'm up again and I'm starting the cycle all over again. So I really needed him to acknowledge that and support that and embrace that, because I could have had someone who resisted a lot and still wanted to make sure that he was fed at supper time. But he looked at the situation that we had and he was quite reasonable with it. He knew that he had to step up when it came to covering the meals, for example. So I knew that by the time I got home, dinner was already set up. See, yeah, we enjoy some quality time together. I get the rest that I need because I still had to prepare for the day ahead. So I'm still having to look through my scripts, but I was still awarded the time to rest and then kill it the next day. And this was a 2.5 month stretch. So it really needed that endurance, that understanding for one another, that empathy, as well as supporting and embracing each other's wants and needs. So, and now, for example, it's the total opposite. Now I've been given this very big break, which I'm so thankful for. It's allowed me to relax because what I do can get quite exhausting. So it's allowed me to relax, just take a step back. And now that I can do that, instead of just being a guest, like I'm at a B&B, I know that I gotta pick up my socks when it comes to the chores around the house. I know that the meals are gonna be cooked by me. I'm gonna make sure the place is clean because he is still working. He still has to function out there in the industry and then still come home and function as a partner. So it's about that balance. I think once we struck that balance, there was really no looking back. And I know that might not be everyone's cup of tea. So I really want to know what you guys consider your ideal wife to be. What kind of wife are you? What kind of wife do you have? Are you happy? What kind of wife would you like? What kind of wife would you want to be? What kind of wife would you want to be? And what kind of wife would you like to have? These are questions that I have for you guys. So please get to commenting, okay? All right, so basically, when it came to that, when it came to defining what a wife was for me, I knew that it was someone who is fluid. This is a title that is forever changing, forever evolving. And like I said, I'm lucky enough to have a partner who understands that. Now, enough about what women should be, because I think society is always telling us what we should be, what we should not be. I think another question that I had a lot earlier in the dating game was, who should I be looking for? I'm someone who's wanted to be married from a very young age. I'm not sure where I got it from, but yeah, it's something that has been instilled in me, and I'm a firm believer of it. So, I had to ask myself these tough questions, which was, what should I be looking for? What's the kind of man that would be ideal for me? The kind of husband that would fit my mold and the kind of life that I want? And I have to say, yeah, it was trial and error. Guys, it was tough. I think I've had maybe a handful of relationships now, and my goodness, yes, So I don't know if it was just the lack of the phrase, what's it? A walking red flag that was missing that would have made things a bit smoother for my journey. But back then, it was quite difficult discerning whether someone was good for you or not. And I had to take a step back. Instead of blaming the people that I was seeing, I had to ask, okay, am I attracting the right person to begin with? Is the person that I want to be with, aligning with the kind of people that I go for? And I realized that that actually wasn't the case. I think many times we speak about, oh, I want a partner who does this, I want a wife or a husband who does that. But then when you look at your dating history, I go reflecteki, maths, I mathematic, and these are the kind of difficult questions and conversations we need to have with ourselves. Says Buzba, okay, am I willing to put this aside? Mhlambi, I shouldn't be partying as much because when I party, I meet this type of person. And this type of person, time and time again, has proven to me that they don't stick around for long, for example. So, for example, I had to go through what I call, does this person push my boundaries, challenge me in a way that makes me grow? Or are they disrespecting my boundaries? Like not pushing them, disrespecting and crossing the line. And 9 times out of 10, it was the latter. I find myself in places where people were very bad at communicating. And that was a boundary I had, as someone with an anxious attachment, that's basically needing reassurance more often than someone who doesn't, and needs constant communication, not in an erratic way, in any way, shape, or form, but rather in a healthy way that makes sure that I feel seen and that I feel heard. So, if someone like that, I can't be going around with someone who doesn't know how to communicate. This one guy, I hate to talk about my past, but I have to bring up an example for you guys. There was this one guy, right? Fine, we're seeing each other. And on a random Friday night, I'm still in varsity. He says to me, get ready, we're going out tonight. Yangisukela, guys. Ngihlelele nje embhedeni wami. Ngathi, oh, we're going out? Let's do it. So there I am. I'm getting ready. I'm looking cute. Fine. About 20 minutes roll past the time he said he was going to be there, right? Because also I'm trying to be a chill girl, I'm not trying to be a crazy girl. I'm trying to be chill. So I'm like, I wait, it's fine, 30 minutes. 30 minutes can pass and then maybe I'll ask, like, what's up? Like, are we still on? I find 30 minutes do pass and yani, it has to be me girl sending the message. So I send the message. I'm like, hi, Booty. Usaiza, like, what's going on? Ati, oh yeah, no, my bad. I'm just finishing up real quick with something I'm busy with right now, but we're still on. So I'm like, okay, when you don't see that it's fit for you to send the message. Oh, no, you think now she'll understand. She knows what I'm going through. I'm not there. I don't know what you're going through. But remember, we're still trying to be that cool, chill girl. So I'm like, oh, okay, no stress. And because it's a dinner date, right? So I didn't go take supper because I'm like, no, so cool. I'm gonna be a girl who's taken out tonight. I didn't eat, so there I am, stomach grumbling. I'm waiting. When I tell you, it was an hour and a half that passed before he communicated again to say, oh no, I'm still on my way. And that, don't bother. Don't bother. Went to my friends who had a bit of leftovers from her supper, ate that. We had a little cute movie session. Dayolala. And it was moments like those where I'm like, if I knew now what I know, the way I would have been like, yes, don't, it's okay. After that first 20 minutes, because that man was clearly disrespecting my boundaries. There was no clear communication from the go, no respect for my time. He's like, no, I got things going on. She's going to wait. And I don't mind waiting, but communicate. So that's just one example of what I had to go through at my tender age. Yes, So anyway, once I then asked myself those difficult questions, and it was difficult because guys like that, or people like that rather, are around. The streets are filled with people like this. So it gets very, very difficult when you are lonely or you are someone who is seeking a relationship to be able to say, yes, don't, that's not my cup of tea. I would rather not be going out on dates, or I'd rather not be in a relationship than to endure things like that. And that kind of discipline, it gets lonely. It feels heartbreaking at times because you feel like you're just not getting it right, you know? But I'm so glad that I went through the trials and tribulations that I went through, because by the time I found my partner and my partner found me, I was ready. I'd seen it all. I knew the kind of boundaries that I had to set for myself, and I set them firmly so that by the time he came, I communicated them very well. He communicated his. And yes, there were hiccups along the way. We're two strangers to one another, and we're still trying to get to know each other. But the respect was there for one another's boundaries. So we knew that, okay, I'm going to up, we cannot cross it. And I think our end goal was so clear to one another that I am looking for marriage. What are you looking for? Same thing? Great. So my piece of advice when it comes to who you should be looking for, if you guys are like in the dating market now, you think you're ready for this thing called marriage, from a little humble girl who's newly married, I'd say make up that list, and not a superficial list. Between we can't be picky anymore, be picky for things that matter. So make up that list and ensure that your partner or this potential partner is ticking most of those boxes. Because I think that's what's going to ensure longevity. That's what's going to ensure that you are not easily disappointed. Yes, there's going to be the few that he doesn't take or that she doesn't take. And it's only natural. Nobody's perfect. No one is here perfectly designed for what you want. And mind you, Nalo want is forever evolving, is what I've realized. So we can't be expecting Abantu to fit into every single type of box and mold that we want for them to be. You know what I mean? And also, with them ticking all these boxes in there, make sure that the ones that they don't tick aren't boundaries that you cannot cross, that they cannot cross, rather. Please make sure. Because I think more often than not, we see that someone is crossing maybe 70% of our boxes, right? And that is a massive W. That is a great thing, because 70% is very hard to come by. But then you find that, man, mhlambe kukho boxes zimbini that he doesn't necessarily take, but that are huge for you, that are things that are non-negotiables. And that, my friend, is when you know to put your foot down and be like, then maybe this person's not for me. But when I say boundaries, when I say morals and values that you hold dear to your heart, I mean that. So it can't be that he doesn't smell good. Okay, no, not bad, but you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't smell like the suave Casanova, who walks into a room and you're just like, oh, who's that? No. I'm talking about real issues and values that you hold, Is this person the same religion as mine, for example? If you're someone who is a follower of God and this is something that's very, very important to you, that's something that you need to make sure you are aligning with. Because when it comes to marriage, we can't be now stumbling upon things that are deal breakers with one another. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that would be my piece of advice. Please also chip in yours pieces of advice, because I'm still learning, guys. I haven't got it all figured out. So I'd love for me and my partner to take on some of you guys' advice and try apply it into our relationship. Now we're moving swiftly along to a topic that can be a bit controversial at times, especially among the Black and brown community, right? Fat and sit. Yeah. This is something that I wasn't privy to in the beginning of my dating experience. I dated quite late, by the way. I started dating around 19. So this is something that I knew that I wasn't going to partake in. I knew my mother would not stand for, so I knew it was a no for me. But guys, I'm a supporter of Fat and Sit. I said it. I said it, okay? I'm going to tell you guys about my experience when it comes to Fat and Sit. So, met my partner in 2018. He was living off campus. I was living on campus. So, it's already a long distance relationship in my books, personally. Yes, it's walking distance, but it's too far for me. So there we were dating, and sometimes it'd be sleepovers, because I want to have a movie night at his place and he can have people sleep over. His res allowed that. So there'd be times like that. Then I found myself being there for the weekend. So I was like, oh, I'm fat and sitting. This is what fat and sit is. This is what it looks like. But it felt so natural. It felt so natural. I must say, though, I get why a lot of parents would advise against it. I get it. I get it. Because here you are, you sent your child to school to go learn. What are they busy doing? Kerfuffling with boys and girls. You know what I mean? But luckily, I was with someone who shared the same values as mine, like I said earlier. So we knew the kind of trajectory that we wanted for ourselves and for one another, you know. So, needless to say, it was harmless. Our experience was harmless again. So, anyway, fast forward to us graduating. Now we're in the working space and he's gotten his first home, right? So I'm like, Yima, you tell me now it's back to long distance, you know. We've experienced these sleepovers whenever we'd like and stuff. And now it needs to go back to us calling each other, good morning, good night. I'm like, I don't like the sound of that. But my mother was not a fan, okay? And understandably so, guys, understandably so, because all she saw in her head was, oh my goodness, this child's gonna get pregnant. This child is gonna get pregnant before time. And I really had to sit her down and try reassure her as best as I could. But no, it's beyond that, you know. I think one of the main things that it did was help me cope. It helped me cope with my anxious attachment style, right? And this was something that I didn't realize I had until I met this particular partner. Because before, you know, I didn't care where the man was, what he was doing. But now, you know, that I found someone I really, really cared about, I really valued communication and I valued close proximity, you know, quality time. And that's what I got to experience most when we would be living together, so to speak, over those long weekends or something like that. So I had to have the conversation with my mom. It was a very difficult one, you know. I don't think she was fully supportive of it, but she understood that I'm a grown woman and I have to make my own decision. I say grown very, very loosely because I was only 21 or 22. But like I said, I tried to reassure as best as I could that I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. So there I was moving in with my mans, and my goodness, guys, one of the best decisions and best experiences I've ever had, hands down. So I'm gonna go into the pros and cons, right, of Fatanse, just from my experience. That's it, just my humble experience. Some of the pros, ne, is that it really built our friendship, really built a solid base of friendship. You know, we got to have these late night conversations with one another. We got to cook together. We got to experience life together, you know. And there's something so powerful and sweet about coming home to someone after a long, strenuous training day. You know, you're coming back to endless love and, you know, countless conversations. And not to say I didn't experience that at home, but you know, there's some things that you can't necessarily dive as deep into with umzali without them feeling like they need to fix something, you know, because they're protective like that. Whereas with the partner, you know, they're just there to listen, offer that shoulder to cry on if you need to cry, all those lovey-dovey good things, you know. Another pro, I must say, let me think about this. Let me think about this. It also solidified the routine that we have right today. So I know that okay, xa evuka ikofu uzoyenza, I'm making breakfast, you know, things like that, and it creates such a nice little tune, such a nice little machine going, that often routine it romanticizes the little things for me. You know, you often look at it as chores or a cycle, but when I look at it as we're understanding each other, you know, this is a dance that we're performing every day, every night, you know. So I really, really enjoyed that aspect of it. I think let me balance. Let me do pros, cons. Yeah, boy. A con is that it does make you comfortable. All right, it really does make you comfortable to a point where you're like, hey, when's the last time we went on a date? Itindo yako, itindo yam, you know, and it might sort of kill the spark or kill the romance in that regard. So I think it really just takes stepping back and being aware of what's happening and being conscious and making conscious efforts to keep the romance alive, things like that. Even if it's a picnic date on the couch, just creating those moments throughout the routine and throughout the mundane living of life that I think ensures that we break law cycle and we don't find ourselves 20 years in Skumba. I'm living with a roommate and that just so happens to father my children. Things like that. Those are things you want to avoid. But another pro, it also helped us financially. I got to a point, so after graduating, I then got an apartment of my own. And yes, I was doing well. I really loved the independence. It was really, really lovely just living on my own and being a boss girl like that. But I then found that once we moved in with one another, instead of me spending low 2,000 on my groceries and him spending 2,000 on his groceries, we shaved off 1,000 by mixing our groceries together. This is just one example of the many things that when we combined our livelihoods together, just made so much more financial sense. And we obviously don't want to leech on one another. You want to have your independence. You want to be able to go out with your friends, Ofuna and him the same. But the fact that we're able to just intertwine our day-to-days, it really, really took some financial load off our shoulders, for sure. Another con, yeah, it didn't make my mother happy. I know I spoke about that before, but yeah, I think she maybe felt like, oh my goodness, is it me? Did I do this to Mtanam? Am I pushing her away? But none of the sorts, none of the sorts. I think mna bendisemathandweni, into yam nje. I was just a girl in love, and it just so happened to work. But I will say that it is something that I see it can have negative effects. You can find yourself in a position where mhlambi you weren't ready, or you see parts of your partner that you weren't necessarily ready to experience. Mhlambi you guys should have gone on more dates or gotten to experience yourselves outside of that environment before you got to see one another on a day-to-day basis, with it killing the romance and all. So it could affect your relationship ngolo hlobo, but like I'm saying, we were dating for a couple of years before we moved in with one another, so I think that also helped. So yeah, guys, those are my pros and cons when it comes to fat and sit, ne? I think do it, but do it only if you're ready, if you know what you want out of life. You don't want to be stuck in a situation where chiki so nabantwana bayithu ngoku, and you knew that you wanted to get married first, for example. These are just one example of how things could go, if you were to do if I didn't say it. Just make sure that your goals are aligned, you guys know what you're doing. And I think the rest can be sorted out, through day-to-day living. But that was my advice. What's y'all's advice? Please do share in the comment section. Ubani nanithini ngale topic efat and said. Do you support it? Do you think, no, 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 no. I will see you after the altar, my friend. I will see you after the altar. Or kanye, you think that would be great practice to see what married life could look like? Let me know. And now we are onto a topic that I think is even more controversial than the last one. To Begazel or not to Begazel? That is the question. Yes, Shakespeare, he should have clocked in on this Qalin, because that is the question. You know, I think when it comes to this one, it's one that is a bit of a fear. Yeah, like I said earlier, I also wanted to share some of my fears in regards to marriage. And this is one that I'm still navigating, that I'm still grappling with, because in as much as I can have a conversation with my partner, this is something that I need to know and be aware of on my own, because it's pertaining to a relationship, to a dynamic too. And I think what I'm still trying to wrap my head around is the notion of through thick and thin, being there with your partner through the hard times, low ride or die, versus someone clearly crossing a boundary, someone dabbling in your happiness and, making your life not so nice anymore. And I think it then takes me back to like a deeper question of, with the olden day couples, couples that we see mhlambi on social media, or even our grandparents who have been married for 47 years or 62 years. uqonda uba, hey, what is the secret? And then they'll say things like listen to one another, respect, forgiveness. But you want to know, like, kahle, kahle, what is the secret? And sometimes I find myself thinking that the secret is one person had to compromise a whole lot more than the other, you know. I hear stories, especially about our grandparents and our great grandparents, but how, they could have been likelihood of infidelity. Ubona ba ndinomalume nomakazi othile from outside of the nuclear household that you know. And gone by, oh, okay. And that was sort of swept under the rug. No one really spoke about that. They stayed married, clearly. Okanye, there's signs of abuse that also people don't speak about. Gone by, Oksala, you've been married for the 60 years, we're pushing. And you have to ask yourself, but am I part of that group? Am I part of those women or part of those partners who are going to withstand things of that nature? Is that the kind of thick I'm willing to thick through? You know? And upon asking myself, I don't think I am. Honestly speaking, I don't think I am. It's actually very interesting though, because I've had conversations like this with my girlfriends, for example, some of my family, and the answer isn't as black and white as you'd think. There are some people out there, or some women, for example, who feel like, hey man, if there's infidelity, that's something I can look past. I've built this relationship with this person. I've built this strong foundation. We have children together. Even if it's a hypothetical question, or it's based on their experience, nyani. But what that I can look past. And then in some instances, no, I walk away. It's just the first sign of you doing anything, just you know okanye abuse. Okay, but what do you constitute as abuse? I thought abuse was quite clear. Even someone doing that's enough for me to be like, okay, we got to reevaluate this whole situation. You know what I mean? Whereas abanye be like, highway too, but it's something that you can look the other way when it comes to that. And it's interesting because it is not black and white, like I said earlier, and it just shows you how complex relationships and people are, and how we shouldn't necessarily judge one another, whatever answer or resolution we've come down to, because it is your life. It is the way you believe relationships should be. But like I said, I think those are those two main things, okay, are things that I think would break my happiness. And I think my happiness needs to be at the forefront of it all, because in order for me to be a great mother, I need to be a happy wife, things like that. So like I said, I'm still grappling with it, because then it's making me ask myself, then, are the vows, do they hold any truth? What are then my values when it comes to marriage? Is it self-serving? Is it selfish? Would I be willing to break up a happy home, for in the kids' perspective, if it meant that happened to me? So I know it's a bit of a tough one, but I want to hear what you guys have to say about that. Nina, if you were put in that kind of situation, what would you do? What would be your go-to move? Ungahlala? Begazelle? Or would you be like, I gotta go, I gotta bounce? So yeah, guys, yay, the children were controversial namhlanje. So I must Portland, let's just let it all out. No judgment. It's a safe space. All right, moving swiftly to finances. Now, I do have an episode about money, right? All things money, which I do speak about my relationship in terms of finances. But I think in this context, Yom Chatone, I want to share a bit about how, firstly, how amazing my man is. I think I'm going to be bragging about him this whole series. Forgive me, okay? Forgive me. I'm a woman in love. That's it. But when it comes to our finances, I think we are still learning, obviously, because we are still trying to make money. I think each year we're seeing a bigger profit. So that's also something to grapple with, Aksafani from when we were 21 and 24, dealing with the changes, so to speak. So I think what we've managed to do quite well is have financial honesty with one another. First, yourself, and then with each other. So I'm talking, we know each other's codes to bank accounts. We we have each other's access to banking apps. We know each other's balances. I think now why I'm so open with that kind of information is because I really like it when he leads in that financial sense, because I think he's more clued in. He knows how to break things down a bit further than I do, and he really does help me make better financial decisions. So I don't see why I wouldn't want to share that side of me. And I think why he shares with me is because I am his partner, but I also think I'm able to advise here and there. I can say, as babe, I know ne una 3,000 extra, but mhlambe, let's not buy sneakers this month. Mhlambe something else will pop up in the month that we're not prepared for. And 7 times out of 10, that is the case. So yeah, but I also am there to say, spoil yourself, have a bit of fun, go buy those pair of sneakers. So I like that we've got that conversation going. Because I know that's not necessarily what happens in some other couples that I've come across, and it's not to say that they're doing theirs in any weird type of way or wrong, but I think it's so interesting knowing that there are other dynamics out there that work for abanye bantu. But for Tina, I think this is the best. That kind of transparency says, "Bana, we are a unit, even though we're thriving individually, because we don't have any combined account, for example. But we know that when now you sorted in your little financial sphere, I'm sorted in my financial sphere." And we got the prenup. Fun fact, I learned about prenup movies. Can you imagine? I didn't even know what it was. I think it was Diary of a Mad Black Woman. Into a prenup. I was like, "You don't need prenup, you don't need prenup." And obviously, throughout the years, I got more knowledge when it came to law topic, down to when we actually met up with the lawyer and they were discussing what it means for the both of us, in our specific context, but in Indoni prenup and what it would mean for me. And it was very interesting, because we were dealing with a woman. So I think she was very passionate about making me aware, bana ithetha ukuthini prenup, what does it look like for me? And although it made me a bit nervous, knowing that, okay, what's yours is yours, what's mine is mine, I also knew that I don't want to necessarily be tied to someone financially, no matter what goes on. Yes, if successes happen, great, but also if downfalls happen, you don't necessarily want the whole household to crumble in and of itself. You'll find that to God forbid, becomes bankrupt. You know that that bank is coming for your stuff as well. Yaiva. So being separate also allows you to keep the family afloat. Mhlambi, if your partner is going through financial strains or a financial tough time. So I also thought about it that way, and the more insight I got, the more I realized that, okay, this is probably the best way to go. But the way in which ours is set up, I think it still makes sure that we won't do right. And you never know what the future holds. God forbid we do divorce. But I think for the time being, it's something that we genuinely agreed upon. We both saw why it could benefit the both of us, and that's what we decided to do. So let me know if you are part of the prenup gang or not. If you want to take half of everything, God forbid. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But let me know in the comments if you guys are pro prenup or anti prenup. And lastly, Bazalwane, I know this is a bit of a lengthy one, but I'm just so passionate about this topic, guys. Dichilo, I'm new to the game. I'm learning Jabodla, so allow me to share. The last topic is about what our secret is. So I would say, like I said, like I've been saying, I'm quite new to this marriage thing. But as someone who's been in a relationship for 7 years now, I think why it's worked this long for us is because there are things in place that we've instilled within the relationship and cemented quite rigidly, that allow the day-to-days to function the way that they do. And the first of these is keeping it fresh, right? So this could be us going on dates. This could be us trying new series together. I mean, there was a stage where we were into puzzles, and it really occupied our time. It didn't last long because a concentration span questionable, but it was a really, really fun era and chapter in our relationship. Singumdu games, so we like playing games with one another. Luckily, iPhone has got this app where we can play games with one another, so that's really nice. Silali leagues almost every weekend. Just those small things that people often overlook that really, really keep the excitement alive. So I think that's what I regard keeping it fresh. Looking good for each other. I think I'm lucky because I'm in the industry that I'm in. So I have to look good, or I have to maintain e looks no matter what. But I'm also lucky to have a partner who really does value the way that he looks. So we're able to just keep looking good for each other. I don't know how many times we're like, oh, you look nice. Why you look so pretty today? I'm like, what kind of surprise, dude? It's me. This is what I do. But anyway, you know what I mean. Just keeping it fresh, looking cute for one another. If his favorite color is red, I'm red. I'm surprised, smelling good. Just those small, small things to show back. Just a corner, like I still got it. I'm your woman and you my man's. Fighting respectfully. I know that sounds a bit like, what you mean? What you mean by that? But fighting respectfully essentially means that getting your point across without hurting the other person's feelings. That should never be the aim. And confession time. Back in the day, that was my ammo. I was like a wounded stray dog who would bite anyone who tries to help them. Just bark, bark, everywhere, all the time. So luckily, I was met with someone who knew how to calm me down and make sure that I could see that he was coming from a place of love. It was a painful process to break. Oh my goodness. Painful, painful, painful. But I had to trust that Lomdu is out there for the interest of me and the my goodness. And once I let down those walls, I was able to do life more respectfully. I was able to put my point across without ever hurting his feelings. It's still very difficult because when you are filled with rage, when you are frustrated by something that has happened, you just like count to 10, take deep breaths, and then you just speak, get your point across. And it might not necessarily always end in kumbaya, my lord, but bana, that person was able to hear what you wanted to say or how they hurt you without you throwing any cuss words, without you walking away, without you throwing hands in the air, without you making faces. Guys, I used to be that girl. It's like, but now, just about okay. I hear you. I'm listening. I'm here. Yes, babe. Okay. Okay. Just being gentle with one another. Guys, it's amazing what that can do. And lastly, embracing love. My high school friends can attest to this. I was someone who was very hardcore. Wasn't a fan of guys, just always knew they're out there to break girls' hearts. So I was quite a very bitter girl. But now that I've learned to be in my soft era, now that I have someone who's allowed me to be more feminine, to be more kind, and more open to love, I love embracing love. And it's the small things, guys, like just brushing your hand over his shoulder as you pass him, give him a kiss on the cheek, like a little high five when he's done well, just exaggerating a moment instead of being like, oh, cool, bro. I'm just like, yes, look at you, and it really does something. It does something for the other partner. It knows that you make them excited and they're excited to be here. And I think those small things have fed into our everyday so much that I'm sure we are insufferable to some of our friends. I'm sure they're like, oh, there they go, that couple. But it's not for them, it's for us. Eva. So I think those are the 4 main things that we've kept in our relationship that has really cemented utando lwethu and made it feel like it's only been 6 months. This is someone that I've known for close to a decade now, and it still feels like uniki butterflies, and he makes me feel loved. So I'm lucky, yes, I must say, but it is not without the hard work that we've put in throughout the years. So yeah, guys, that is what my marriage is looking like right about now. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I want you guys to go in on the comment section. What is your husband material? What are your love languages? What's the favorite thing about your partner? What are you looking forward to when it comes to marriage? All of I want to hear all about it. But this was Woman Wiser, and until next time, love ya.